Hello and welcome to Down the Slope. How's ever I'm Ewan, and this week I am again joined by Harry and Liam. How you doing, Harry?
Hi mate, I'm not too shabby. I'd sit on top of the league. Not very often we can say that we're guaranteed to be top of the league for, I think it's the 5th consecutive week. So that's pretty good going in my opinion. Like,
how are you, Liam?
Yeah, doing good, mate. Doing good. Hibs are put a wee spring in the step on Saturday. So doing well.
Excellent. So yeah, like you said, Harry, Hibs are top of the league. International break. We're 4 games in. We got our 3rd win of the season at home at Livingston on Saturday. What did you make of the game?
I thought it was a very good performance. I don't think that we set the world alight, but I think that sometimes when you watch Celtic and Rangers games, you can see them struggle to break teams down that want the game to be very anti-football. And I think that we're at a level now that teams are starting to treat us with that respect. I think genuinely from 15 minutes in, Livy players were hitting the deck and trying to chew up clock. It was a bit pitiful, but everybody has to use the tactic. I think that we've done the business. We never looked threatened at all, apart from one minor mishap that I'll mention when we come on to it. I'm assuming we'll come on to it. But yeah, apart from that, I thought we looked very comfortable. It wasn't a 10 out of 10 performance, it was a 7 out of 10, but it was a comfortable 7 out of 10 performance.
Liam, what did you make of the game yourself, mate?
It was one of those games that I think we were good in spells, but it certainly wasn't a complete performance. Like about 20 minutes at the beginning of the game where I thought we were quite good, and then probably 15, 20 minutes at the beginning of the first half where we were good. And then we finished the game quite well as the game started to open up a little bit. I thought some of our kind of, if you like, more sort of flair players maybe showed what they could do as the game opened up a wee bit. So not a complete performance by any stretch of imagination, but I think Harry's hitting something really important there. I think we are going to see quite a lot of teams this season come to Easter Road and play with 10 or 11 players behind the ball and try and frustrate us. I think we have to be adaptable and be prepared to throw different things at them to go and win the game. And I think, if there's anything that Livingston have been known for in their time in the top flight, it's been a team that is typically quite good at frustrating other teams and maybe nicking a goal here or there. So I don't think we can be too surprised that that's how the game turned out. But I thought, I think all in all, I think it's a good result, good performance. Let's say.
Yeah, I would agree. I think I never felt like. Yeah, I didn't think we were great at any point in the game. Didn't feel like we were terribly bad at any point. Just probably played in first gear a lot of the time, I felt, which is never a bad thing, I went to in a home game, so I just ease your way through the game. But prior to kickoff, Harry, what did you make of the team selection? Obviously, it sort of looked like a straight sort of 4-4-2. Nisbet and Scott sort of, at least until Murphy's injury, looked like they were sort of rotating between who was dropping deeper and stuff. What did you make obviously the change because Gogic dropped out and Nisbet came in?
Even as a self-branded Papa Gogic enthusiast, I think everybody and their dog knew that Gogic wasn't going to be playing. I was a bit hesitant when I first saw the team, just because I think in the past when we've tried 4-4-2 with Jack Ross, it didn't work because we were a bit overrun in the midfield. I genuinely think it took us a wee while to get our feet settled into the game. Not too long, maybe like 5-10 minutes. I didn't think we looked very comfortable in or out of possession. But eventually, Kyle McGuinness got the engine running, and Jake Doyle-Hayes was absolutely unplayable again. Those guys could be a single midfield. We could run a 4-1-5 again, like back in the famous 5 days, and we could make it work with one of those two in the midfield. Like when those two get ticking, it's unbelievable to watch them play. I just think that the things Jake Doyle-Hayes does on and off the ball to put pressure on the opponents is unbelievable. I think we've got an absolute gem there, and he's already making me eat my hat, because when we first signed him I said I wasn't impressed, but he's been an absolute baller. And I genuinely think the impact is showing on St Mirren as well, because we were all expecting them to have quite a good start to the season. They've absolutely fallen away, because the strength of their midfield last season was very clearly Jake Doyle-Hayes and McGrath. And if Jake Doyle-Hayes isn't there, McGrath's no performance, and they fall apart. So random St Mirren tangent for the day for you. But no, I thought the first 10 minutes I thought we looked a bit sticky, but after that, as I said earlier, I think we just controlled the game.
Yeah, Liam, just how did you think? Did you feel it was still sort of played that sort of 4-2-3-1? Did you feel like anyone played the number 10, or did you think it more flat 4-4-2?
I don't know. I was listening to a couple of different podcasts, and someone talked about James Scott playing the 10, and I'll be honest, I didn't really see that. I thought it was pretty flat 4-4-2. I certainly noticed that McGuinness was a lot deeper. They had been in previous games, which probably made me suspect it was a 4-4-2. But like we said before with Jack Ross Hibbs teams, is the formation is typically quite fluid. Albeit you've got quite a good vantage point of being back at the game, so you can kind of, I suppose, have a bit more of a sense of what's going on in terms of the formation. But no, it felt like it did feel like a pretty flat 4-4-2 to me. Doyle Hayes was still coming really, really deep to receive the ball a lot of the time, and making himself available for passes. Something that I think I heard Colin on Long Bangers talk about earlier on is, getting to see that other side of McGuinness's game in terms of going and winning balls and his low centre of gravity kind of bursting through challenges. I think that was quite evident at a number of points. It was probably needed against Livingston's midfield as well, just the way they were set up. So I thought the system, as much as I wasn't blown away by performance, I thought the system for the game was probably the right one, and I think it probably did work as well. There was a number of players in that kind of midfield sort of attacking lineup who had quite a good day, I would say, on Saturday.
Yeah, obviously both the goals came in the second half. The highlights of the first half really were, unfortunately, obviously injuries on both sides for both teams. And Harry, I think potentially the incident that you wanted to talk about may well have been in the first half. So if you want to bring that up just now, feel free.
It's not an incident, but it's a thing I keep going back to, because I actually thought his overall game was pretty good. Some distribution wasn't at his best, but Ryan Porteous just has those absolute brain dead moments that if he does it in a big game, it could genuinely cost the season. When he's got the ball literally 10 yards out and there's two players from Livingston 5 yards ahead of him, just absolutely bloated it up the pitch. I don't know what he's actually thinking, because sometimes he does it and it's definitely on, and fair play for running it for the back, but I don't know what he's seen. Obviously we don't have his field of view, but from my perspective it literally just looked like he was swarmed in, because there was no pressure on him either. Like, what did you guys? How did you guys react? Because I was just like, oh no, we've lost the game. Like, I just couldn't believe my eyes.
It was definitely a weird one. I think, Liam, did I say it to you potentially after the game on Saturday? And I think I did mention it during the game with the guys around me. I think sometimes Port just can't make his mind up if he wants to be a kick it and head at defender or like a sort of ball playing defender. And I think a lot of the time that leads to some of the indecision. I think at times you're thinking, right, he's going to bring that down and he launches it. I think there was a point in the second half where they'd done that. And then I think sometimes that's, if he does get caught on the ball, it's like there is that bit in his head where he thinks that do I want to play or do I want to get rid of it? And I think in the second half there was an example as well down in front of the East stand where he sort of pirouetted on it to get away from sort of Livingston striker, and it was class. It was an absolute moment of class, and it's like he knows he's got that in him, and it's just, I think sometimes he takes too long to decide when he wants to use it. I don't know what you think about that.
And don't know, Liam, about your perspective, if you're the same with me, but see when Efe Ambrose used to do his stupid antics and run out for the box, everybody else around me would panic, but me personally, I would be fine because I knew it was Efe and I would have full trust in him. Is that kind of what you're like when Porteous is on the ball and he does things that are erratic, to say the least?
No, I wouldn't say I've got 100% confidence a lot of times, because there was moments obviously last season where he'd have left me with egg on my face if I was 100% confident. But he does have a certain degree of composure, because for the one that you talk about, there was at least 2 or 3 others where I think he pulled off a Cruyff turn in the second half at one point.
I
seem to remember. And there was a wee drag back in there, just chucked in for good measure. I mean, he clearly has the ability to do it. I think the thing that he has to refine is just choosing the moments to do that stuff and choosing the right moments. And had that been a different outcome and had Livingston scored, we're probably on here doing a different podcast tonight, aren't we? We're probably giving him a bit of giving him some pelters. But there were some moments. I mean, not just his control of the ball, but some of his passing out from defence I thought was really, really good on Saturday. Really, really good. Passing through the lines as well, and not just passing to the kind of the guy that's nearest to him. And I think he bears a lot more of that responsibility when McGregor's next to him, if I'm honest, because I think he is expected to be the guy who's going to carry the ball, who's going to make a pass, particularly when our team's sitting deep. So you're probably going to see him not exposed, but you're probably going to see him in more moments like that during the game where he's expected to kind of use the ball. But I think there is a wee bit of fact that he did play those games next to Effie Ambrose as well, and he's probably looked at that, whether consciously or subconsciously, and looked and thought, that's a wee bit of me that. I want to play a bit like Effie. I want to be that really cool, calm, composed centre half, because that's the thing that's going to take me on to the next level. That's the thing that's going to get me noticed. But the thing he has to just guard against is not to, like I say, not do it too often, because if you do it too often, people will start to read it and choose to do it at the right time as well.
Yeah, I think while we're on the defensive throttle, well, of course, like we said earlier, both the goals came in the second half, so we'll get on to them. But the defence as a whole for the full 90 minutes, I thought they were really, really good. I thought just Josh Doig was pretty quiet in the first half, but it was a good second half. Thought Paul McGinn had a really good game, and Poaches and McGregor, obviously second home league game of the season, and we have kept 2 clean sheets, albeit in 2 games that you probably expect us to keep clean sheets. It is promising, Harry, and it just to see that we do have the ability to keep clean sheets in the team, albeit perhaps at times away from home it doesn't translate.
I know, because that's the thing. The main thing for us last season, coming into the season, that I said, was our home form. Was shocking last year, and we started 2 games against teams that we got beat off last year, and we've comfortably hammered them both at home. Because even though, as we said, it wasn't the complete performance, that game on Saturday, we could have easily won that 4 or 5-0, and I don't think they could have complained. I just thought we were streets ahead of Livingston. And I think one thing as well is everybody loves to criticise Paul McGinn, but I thought he was very good. So I think in the games that he does play well, we do need to acknowledge the fact that there is a good play there. I
thought he had a very good second half. I didn't think he was brilliant in the first half, I must admit, but I thought he had a good second half. And I think you saw one thing that's understated and underrated about him is his willingness always to get forward. Sometimes it doesn't work for him, sometimes it doesn't come off for him, but he always gets there. He always makes the run, and quite often he's used as a decoy, because let's be honest, Martin Boyle fancies going inside or fancies passing it into the number 10 and not using him, but he's always willing. I thought actually both full-backs, just to give Josh Doig a shout, because he didn't have a great game against Dundee. I thought Doig, particularly second half, again was good on Saturday. Thought he got forward well, thought he offered him out the ball, seemed to go into quite a lot of 50-50s with the appetite to go and win the ball as well. So I thought both fullbacks come away with the game with some credit to the better players on the pitch on Saturday.
Any worrying, Liam? You normally have one worrying moment from Macy. You're yet to be 100% convinced. Anything on Saturday that left you a little bit shaky?
Not overly so. The distribution's still an issue, but I think the distribution is going to continue to be an issue.
Was it bad on Saturday? I can't think of any major flags on Saturday compared to recent weeks.
So there was a couple for me. So I think release time for me is an issue, particularly when you're playing against Livingston, and they had a wee flurry of kind of corners or free kicks that weren't all that near the box. I just felt if you're going to play against a team that are going to play with 11 men behind the ball, transitions one of your best opportunities to hurt them. You need your goalkeeper, you need your defenders to be able to distribute the ball quickly. That was a bit of an issue. I think there was one maybe 2 that went out of the park, but let's be honest. I mean, that's not dreadful. That's not a huge issue. But it feels really harsh to say the jury's out because he's made some really good saves. But from my own perspective, I think the jury's always going to be out on a Hibs goalkeeper after 4 league games, because that's essentially what he's got in terms of credit in the bank. He's got 4 league games where he's been okay. So yeah, I don't want to go in 2-footed on him because I don't want to get him hugely wrong.
Are we warming up a bit?
Warming to Macy. I don't know. Look, based on the saves he's made, there's clearly some goalkeeping ability there. I think the issue that I have with him is that he's 26, still relatively young for a goalkeeper, but he's not played a huge amount of football in his career. And actually, the sample size is still relatively small. So, we've given him opportunity to play some first team football. Let's just hope that, he rewards us with some continued good performances.
Harry, first, before we move on to the second half, talk about the goals. First half, we did see, in fact, let's mention the Livy player first. Bruce Anderson had a couple of dives throughout the game, and then obviously had an issue, a diabetic fit, I think it was reported after the game that he had.
Must have been a thing, because is there such a thing as a diabetic fit? I'm sure that's not actually.
I'm not sure, but either way, it's not great to see, especially after obviously Scott Allen's issues over the last year that we've seen, the issues that caused him to have, and obviously missed almost a full year of his career. So hopefully he's all right. And then we had our own injury concern either just before that or just after that. Jamie Murphy pulled up a recurrence of the hamstring injury that was plaguing him last year. How big a miss do you think Jamie Murphy will be if it is going to? Because hamstrings are usually sort of 4, 5, 6 weeks, aren't they?
Frustrating thing about that though is it's a 50-50 and he's backed out it. If he goes in for that 50-50, he doesn't get injured. It's one of those things you get taught at a young age.
See, I thought he looked like he was struggling to. Ken, the ball broke to him in the box and he sort of squashed a shot.
Aye.
I thought he looked like he was sort of hobbling since that point. Ken, and I think we've all done it. Ken, when you go to like proper smack a ball and you totally miss hit it and it really fucking hurts. Like, but it's unfortunate to see, innit? He's been good this season. You're a big Murphy fan.
I know. Me and my mate who's been good. The main frustrating thing with Murphy is every single game, like, me and Craig are both big fans, and he keeps saying to me every game, it's turned into a meme though. At the point where a guy's getting turned into a meme because of his ability, it is frustrating. But every week it's like, oh, he's finally going to score that screamer that he keeps on getting every week, because he does get himself in positions to, like, I know you can't expect a player to score a screamer, but if you cut in on your right foot enough times, you should be hitting the net once or twice for me if you're a player of that ability. And if you look at the cutbacks he's missed as well in his time at Hibs, like, I do really rate him and I think he has a massive impact on the team. But if he's not finishing chances, then he's not really that much of a miss.
Mm-hmm. Liam, what did you make of Scott Allen's performance when he came on? Obviously came off the bench and James Scott moved out left. It was obviously the knock-on impact it had on Scott, but mainly Scott Allen.
You had to give me the Scott Allen question, didn't you?
Well, don't worry. I'll be sharing my views once you've spoke, and the people that sit around me in my new seat probably think I'm a fucking cunt because I wasn't buying into it.
Positives, really good assist for the goal. Nice play, I think, especially given that Jason Holt's trying to sort of stay kind of 3 or 4 yards off him to read what he's going to do next. I think it's a really clever assist. So really good. I'm struggling to think of anything else he did in the second half that was noteworthy. So yeah.
No, I'm going to be honest. I didn't think he was great. I didn't think he was good. Look, it's a lovely assist. It is, and I'm gonna say it, but Dre Wright done the same thing against Santa Coloma. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and do you know what? It really got on my goat at the weekend. So, like, I was going to bring this up later, but I was sitting in my new seat in the stand. I think you were in a new seat as well, and for the first time, weren't you? And Harry, you were at the back in your seat. I think we all enjoyed our experiences, and it was nothing to do with people around me. I felt it was the entire ground. Scott Allen got hailed as this fucking messiah when he was coming on the pitch, man. Everyone's up and this and that, and there's folk 3 or 4 rows away from me screaming at Jamie Murphy saying he's a disgrace because he's constantly injured. Then as soon as Scott Allen comes on, he's fucking up, fucking might as well be down on his knees, fucking sucking him off, man. And like everyone was praising Scott Allen to the hilt, and then and I have no problem with that. And then Dre Wright comes on, and folk are begging for him to give the ball away. Like, he got this pass wrapped into him, then he's tried to like play a soft push, and I'll be honest, it wasn't great. I thought he was perfectly fine after that, but it just, this atmosphere in the ground, as soon as Dre Wright comes on, it's really, I just struggle with it. And when you compare that directly to Scott Allen, and I think like you said last week, Liam, if all players got a clean slate at the start of every season, then like, don't get me wrong, like, I did sort of have my tongue, like, I had my fist in my mouth when Scott Allen got the assist, because I'd been joking like with the boy that I sit with, and I was like, oh well, like Scott Allen gave the ball away a few times. I was like, oh well done, Scotty, like just under my just having a wee laugh, like taking the piss, and then he obviously got the assist, and I was like, right, fine, Scott, you're back in the good books, whatever. But I didn't understand how. Well, I do, because he's been a great player for us in the past, and we all hope he can be great. But how, as a fan base, we can be so universally for a player and so universally against a player that in the current season, I would argue Drey Wright's done more for the team than Scott Allen has.
I think unfortunately that happened to Drey Wright on Saturday, as he had that. I think the first thing he did was just a really poor touch, and it gave the ball away. But then he did lots of things after that were quite good. Drew the foul from Andy Shinnie, which I think Shinnie got booked for, if I'm not wrong in saying.
First booking of the game somehow.
Aye, well done, Steve McLean. I thought there were some things at Drey Wright that were good.
I don't know how.
Is it as universal as we say though? I don't know if it's as universal as we say. I think opinions on things are starting to change a wee bit. I think there are still a lot of people out there who think that Scott Allen can do no wrong, but I'm not sure if it's as universal as we all think. I think there's a lot of people who are now coming around to, the potential that. I don't want to say it, but the potential that he's not going to get back to form of old. I think there's it's looking likelier with every kind of passing appearance, I would say.
But it's great to see him come on and make assists, and I think I speak on behalf of all this, Harry. I will let you come in. Like, I think we all hope and pray that Scott Allen can recapture the form from his second spell and his first spell, and maybe even the start of this current spell, maybe under Heckenbottom at the start of that season, he was really good as well. But I've not seen anything to suggest that he will. And for me right now, he wouldn't. If everyone's fit, he's not even close to starting. For me, I don't think. Harry, what's your thoughts on Scott Allen before we get back?
I'll go Drey Wright first. I think Liam made an interesting point, and I think he does it to himself all the time. I think because of the amount of pressure that he feels under, every time he comes on the pitch, he always makes a couple of mistakes. And by that time, everybody's always written off the rest of his performance. Because I actually thought after his first 3 touches of the ball, he actually had a pretty good game. He was actually quite impactful every time he got the ball. But it's the type of thing after you make the first couple of mistakes that you expect from Drey Wright. Every time he does something well, you got something right. So he literally can't do right from doing wrong after he's made the initial mistake. So I hope at one point he comes on, and the first thing he does is play a 5-yard pass that finds Lewis Stevenson at left back, because then that'll just give him the confidence to keep going. But yeah, Scott Allen, as I said at the start of the season, I hope that he proves me wrong, but I just don't think he's going to set the world alight. I think that Allen's at his best when he's a bit of an energy buzz in the middle of the pitch. Like, he doesn't really track back and forth, but every time he's near the ball, he hounds it down. Even if he just puts in reckless tackles like the one in the 5-5 game. But
superb tackle.
Exactly. I just don't think we're really seeing that energy for him. I don't know if it is a match fitness thing or if it is he's just getting a bit older and he's not really got that extra burst in him. Obviously, his main thing is, the main problem with Scott Allen is when he plays consistently, he normally gets an assist or two every couple of games, which obviously that's not a problem. But then people will look at his stats and be like, he's getting an assist every game. But it's like, he's still not performing well. Like, he got an assist at the weekend, a brilliant assist, don't take it away from him. But I wouldn't give him more than a 6 out of 10. And to be a consistent starter at a team that's fighting for third place, potentially second place, depending on if Celtic buck up their ideas, we can't be having 6 out of 10s every week.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything you've just said there. I think the thing I would chuck into just on top of that is, we're talking about now Kyle McGuinness playing as a 10, and is there a more informed central midfield player in the Scottish Premier Football League at the moment than Kyle McGuinness? Is there a guy who's contributing more for the team than in terms of goals and just in his general play than Kyle McGuinness right now? I don't know. I don't think there is. Not certainly not in that position. So, he's got his work cut out to get back in the team. We've won 3 and drawn 1 of our first 4 games. I'd have to really struggle to understand calls to get him back into the team at the moment with how everyone's playing. And with Joe Newell still come back from a relatively short-term injury as well, hopefully.
Did you feel like we missed Joe Newell at all at the weekend? Obviously McGuinness did start a little bit deeper. Did you still feel like we missed Newell? I did.
I definitely think we did. I think that we just look like, because even if he doesn't have a good performance, he still does the things that go unnoticed. I think you notice in the tempo of the team when we're in possession the impact that Joe Newell has, even if you don't notice him throughout the game.
Yeah, I think without Hanlon being there as well, with it's kind of that left foot to open up the play on the other side, I think that's another thing that it's made it a bit more noticeable again being at the games, because Joe Newell would come into that left hand side and pick the ball up deep in the sort of left hand side of the double pivot, if you want to call it that. Fucking hate using these terminology, but everyone's using it now.
Go and tell everyone the Fred analogy you were giving me on Saturday night. I'm sure it was about how he was turning it, like how Fred has to turn on the ball, so he's got to have someone beside him.
Mate, I was giving it all sorts. And then did you watch the game on Sunday and how right was that about Fred on the ball in the Man United game on Sunday? I think for me, Newell's a big loss. It's compounded without Hanlon there, and I just really hope we're able to select a first strength team for that Derby game in 10 days time.
Aye. I would like to hope so. Anyway, right. Let's get back into the game that was. The second half felt like pretty much straight from kick-off. Paul McGinn puts a great ball in behind a fresh lawn centre half. Is it fantastic play by Kevin Nisbet to pin him, roll him, and find the middle of the goal, or is it terrible defending from the centre half and the really poor for the goalkeeper? I think it's really good play from Kevin Nisbet, is my views on it. But in live play, I thought, what a fucking goal that is. They watched it back about how the fuck's the keeper don't save that.
Aye, keeper's not done great. The defender's literally been on the park 30 seconds. Just not had a chance to get up to the speed of the game. He's been rolled so easily. He's basically not even standing goal side when Nisbet hits it. He's goal side, but he's not on the side to actually impact blocking the shot. It's just I don't know if it's because he's went one way and then gone the other. Like initially, the defenders expecting him to go onto the other side.
It's not his weak. Nisbet has taken it into his. If we were trying to maybe defend the Livingston defender, he's probably thinking about I'd rather show him onto his left foot potentially than his right. But it wasn't great, was it?
Because my initial impression, well, very good ball from Paul McGinn, put it in a dangerous area. Nisbet done well to pick it up. Centre back, as you say, literally just came on the pitch and he couldn't have got off to a worse start. Like, you just didn't want to be facing one of the form players in Scotland when you come on the pitch, because I'm sure he got absolutely blitzed by Martin Boyle like 15 seconds after when we next got the ball as well. And then, from my perspective, my first thought was that keeper's done terrible. It looked from my seat as if he'd hit it down the middle of the goal. It wasn't actually that far off on the replay. It was a good finish, but the keeper definitely should have saved it, in my opinion. If that was Messi that had done that,
Messi saved that.
Stopping launching him on the pitch, like, so I thought he should have done better.
What did it feel for you guys at the game that was the first shot on target? I don't know, like, you know what I mean? Like, it was the first shot on target we'd had, but I felt like, albeit, I know we mentioned it, I felt like we'd been probing. You know what I mean? I felt like we'd still had chances, even, but when I was watching sports and the guy was like, that was first shot on target, I was like, fuck. Like, I just didn't have that impression. And then, did you feel like the game just sort of went back into the pattern in the first half after we scored the goal? I didn't feel like we really kicked on as much as maybe like what we did against Ross County per se, when we got the first goal against Ross County, and then obviously we scored 2 more goals in the space of 10 minutes. I thought that the game really died after the first goal. Aye.
It was a bit flat, wasn't it? It just was a bit flat. It was a bit flat after we scored, and there was like, I just remember getting a bit agitated that we weren't really seeming to kind of press or look likely to score a second. The game just went a bit meh. Livingston, I think that was maybe the period not long after that where they did have that wee kind of flurry of corners and kind of indirect free kicks just outside the box, which, to be honest, they didn't really do anything of note with. And go be honest, I mean, we probably talked enough about referees already on this podcast, and we're only 4 league games into the season, but wasn't really helped by Steve McLean either, was it? Because he was letting some things go on Saturday, inexplicably letting some things go on Saturday. And then other things, he was just blowing his whistle for really petty shit. I just didn't. I did not understand that as a refereeing performance. It's really, really weird. Like, because I think he's been a referee who's maybe had a wee bit of a reputation for like being one of the better referees in Scotland and like being more attuned to letting things go. Aye, but he was poor. He was really poor. Sorry.
There's 3 instances that really spring to mind about how he was so shit at the weekend. Nisbet, I want to say one, maybe a header, or they controlled it and passed off, and then must have fucking blew on the fullback in front of him. Fullback went down, got a free kick. Then about 30 seconds later, Nisbet got fucking clattered through the back in the middle of the park. No free kick. And I think the guy might have got the ball, but he absolutely smashed through the back of Nisbet to get to it. And then the one that really summed Stephen McLean up for me was, when you see a ref sprint over to a situation and it's like he thinks something's going to kick off. When Doig went on his sort of wee dart forward to absolutely nowhere and just sort of ran out of play. There was a wee coming together because Devlin was seeing it out, and McLean fucking bolted over, like as if they were going to start scrapping. Like, mate, it's not been that game all day. Like what are you expecting to happen here? But Harry, anything to add on refs, or will we get back onto the positives and talk about how good Scott Allen is with that back heel?
Absolute gorgeous goal all the way around. I thought it was very well worked from everybody involved. It was just a nice passing move. And then if you can end a goal with a chip, as I mentioned earlier, Craig's adamant upon the replay that Boyle's meant to cut it back, and he's accidentally sliced it into the back of the net. I think he meant it. I don't know if he meant the chip. I think he meant to shoot and he scuffed it a bit. But I think his eye was for goal. But I don't know if he entirely meant the chip. If you watch it back, you'll see what he means. But yeah, no, it looked amazing anyway.
And I think just before that as well, actually, sorry, it was a missing me to not mention it. For the last 5 minutes, it was like we went, oh, Livy just aren't going to come out, so let's try and score again. Like Kyle McGuinness managed to wave his way through about 75 Livy players and Scott Allen got on the road, and it broke to Jake Boyle-Hayes, who had the shot blocked and stuff like that. But Liam, I think there was some chat after the game. I can't remember if it was with you or with people around me, that we thought Boyle definitely tried to chip it because it looked like he had tried to chip one in the first half, but then on the highlights he just actually kicked it off himself. Well, do you think he meant to chip the keeper?
I think he just takes a touch and then he is kind of left with no option. The touch kind of leaves him with no other alternative other than to chip. Well, no sensible other alternative other than to chip it. So he's in pretty close proximity to the goalkeeper. So he's probably got 2 choices in fairness: go through the legs, which high risk, or he's got the chip if you can execute it. And it's a really good finish because he does execute it. But I think the touch he takes maybe before then just doesn't really leave him with any other option other than to do that. But he was. I like seeing that. I like seeing like that variety in finishing because he's someone who quite often smashes it and goes low on the ground. And I think the more you can keep goalkeepers guessing, the better. Because I know it's not like a penalty shootout or anything, but goalkeepers do, I'm sure at this level, pay attention to how guys get into the final third finish it. And if you can show them that you've got different things in your arsenal, then I think that's only good for your finishing chances.
I'd agree with that because I feel like there was a point in time with Jason Cummins was that he tried to go around the keeper every one-on-one he was on, and it was like goalkeepers were just standing up, and you know what I mean. It felt like there was a few occasions where like I want to say he might have tried to do against Hearts in one of the cup replays, and it was like everyone in the stadium knew he was going to try and round the keeper, and the keeper just dealt with it. You know what I mean? Like there was a interesting to say that because Boyle was in almost an identical situation against Kelly at home in the League Cup, and he just smacked it wide in the far post. So it was good. It was good. It was good to see him finish that. And I think 2-0 we were good value for 2-0. I would say. I think I don't think Livingston never really caused us any issues. I think 2-0 leaves you a little bit. Of course, it does. You score another goal, but it leaves you happier than 1-0, doesn't it? You know what I mean? The optics on it are a little bit better, and I think it was a well-deserved 2-0 victory. Do you have any more to add on the game that we've not mentioned, or shall we move on?
One more talking point I want to mention. I personally love it, the fact that the drum's back. I think in terms of the atmosphere, I think that these stands where it should be, and it should have always been. And I thoroughly enjoyed them being back. I don't know if any of those boys will actually listen to the podcast, but I thought he's done a magic job making a good atmosphere at Easter Road, because I think in the last few weeks it has been a wee bit flat, and if we can get that back at away days, then we're going to be in for another treat of a season.
Did you enjoy being back? Did you enjoy being back at your seats and back to sort of no? The attendance was okay, wasn't it? But were you happy being back at your new seat, Liam? Old seat for you, Harry?
I was happy to be back, and happy with the spot. I was in. I thought it was good to have the singing section back in the east. I know they were kind of long at the far end, but I thought the first half they did a really good job. I think second half the game was kind of reflected in the noise. I think it did tail off a wee bit in the second half. I think that's to be expected. So I think the singing section back in the east is definitely a positive for me, because I think having them squirreled away in the sort of corner of the famous five upward, I think that was a long-term solution. And I think when you've got an away support that's worth speaking of, the singing section will be an even louder voice because they'll have someone to bounce off. I think we can do that argument to death about the impact of away fans. I think we saw it in the Old Firm game on Sunday as well. No away fans, I don't think really helped the atmosphere. And in the 20 or so that Livingston brought with them on Saturday didn't really do much to help the atmosphere either. But hey ho. No, it was good. Yeah, and in terms of the attendance, a wee bit disappointed with the numbers. And I'm maybe just naive. I thought that, given it had been so long since we'd been at Easter Road, that we would be somewhat close to a sellout. Obviously, I kind of realised on Thursday, Friday that wasn't going to be the case because of various different circumstances. But I was a wee bit underwhelmed, I've got to say, with 13,500. I thought more folk could have made the effort, but I also understand people's reasons for not going to. So I didn't want to go too hard on anyone for that.
Good feelings back in your old seat, on your proper seat, Harry?
That's actually my second game back, mate, because for the League Cup, we managed to get our own seats. So, but I'll never tire of sitting in my own seat. It is a glorious view, and I think it's stunning.
Well, in my new surroundings in the East Stand, really, really good seat. It's good omens now. 2-0 win, clean sheets. But I'm a 6'1" fat bastard, but I've got the BFG sitting beside me, man. Like, this guy is huge. Sound is fucking huge. So it's a bit of a tight squeeze, but I'm sure we'll get used to it. I'm used to, because in the famous five I was right on the aisle as well, so could proper stretch out. And I think the season ticket directly in front of me in the famous five was like a sort of family, and it was the kid that sat in front of me, I think. So wasn't always there. So half the time it was like being extra leg room in a flight. It was class. So right, it's Tuesday as opposed to Monday. We're normally recording on Monday, but it is 7:26 right now, transfer deadline day, and so far we have got Wood, and that is it on transfer deadline day. Where do we see any more potential areas to strengthen other than the centre back that we've already signed in Nathan Wood from Middlesbrough in the next 4.5 hours? Is it 12 o'clock at the deadline?
I don't know if it's the same. England's definitely 11, but I don't know if we're the same as that. I think we actually are midnight. I'm sure that's different because I was saying the other week. I'm probably wrong. Ignore me.
Nah, anyway. I think Sky said midnight. I think.
I hope that we have another Jake Doyle-Hayes situation. Obviously, I don't know anything about this Wood boy, apart from what's been plastered on Twitter about the fact he's got quite a good under-21 England pedigree, etc. But with the price tags of some of the other players, like Jason Kerr, supposedly 500k to some mineral down south, I hate seeing good Scottish talent ruin their careers. And for me, moving to Wigan after you've won a cup double is embarrassing. if he actually goes through with that move, then he's embarrassed himself and he's put a stain on his name as far as I'm concerned. If Hibs come in and St Johnstone say we don't want our rivals signing our best players, completely understandable. But for me, St Johnstone are a bigger club than Wigan and a bigger club than Charlton. So I don't understand why you go from winning a cup winning side to a team that you're going to rot away. It's such a stupid move for me. Put them in the ranks of Regan Hendry and Alan Campbell as stupid transfers if they actually go through, in my opinion. But back to Hibs.
And a Hibs front, Harry.
Yeah. Mitchell again, another signing I'm not going to sing and dance about. I'm not going to be annoyed about it, but again, nothing about him I know. But yeah, if we don't, it's not the end of the world if we don't sign someone else. At least we've got that depth at centre back, but I'm not overly impressed.
On today's dealings, or as the window as a whole?
Window as a whole, I think we've done all right. But today's dealings not particularly.
Okay. Liam, what about yourself? Any areas that you would like to strengthen between now and the window closing? And what's your thoughts on Nathan Wood? Obviously, Paddy mentioned that David Mitchell as well. It seems pretty much that's done for third choice goalkeeper.
I mean, you might. I mean, I'm probably struggled to get excited at any point, but I'm really struggling to get excited about signing a third choice goalkeeper for Clyde, 31-year-old or whatever it is. So I'll
pass.
Fingers crossed he turns out to be great. But yeah, let's Nathan Wood. Let's move on to something more positive. I think the one with Wood's interesting because he signed for a year loan.
Let's get on to talking about some Wood.
Yeah. The weird tangents and weird tangents and shite puns podcast. No, I think he sounds like he's a slightly different type centre half to the ones we've got at the club. So pacey. I think that kind of recovery pace can be really helpful, especially in games where potentially we're going to be playing teams where we are playing quite a high line because they're sitting back and we're pressing to kind of try and put them away. So I think that could be a good asset to have. Sounds like he's quite comfortable on the ball as well, so we'll suit our style of play. Pedigree, yeah, seems like he's got some pedigree. I think there's an element of any young kid in England who's kind of an under-19 international or whatever he is, getting a few games in the Championship and then clubs getting really excited about him. So I think that has to come with a bit of a pinch of salt, that bit around pedigree. But I think he seems on the face of it like a good signing. A year loan, so we'll get to see hopefully, and get a few opportunities in the team. So I think I'm kind of all right with that signing. To be honest, I'm kind of chuffed actually, but I think he could be a decent signing. In terms of other business, I'm kind of in the camp that I think we still need another forward player. I wasn't completely there, but I just think, COVID protocols and with, Nisbet being away with the Scotland squad or not away with the Scotland squad, I was only really having him as the recognised sort of striker that's fit to the end of the season. I know James Scott's played there, but I'm not 100% sure that's actually his position. I would like to see us bring another forward in there, potentially a versatile forward who can play in some other positions too. That is a wee bit of a worry, but I'm not flapping about it. And then I think the only other thing I would say is, the club have obviously got confidence that Chris Cadden's on his way back. I think right back was the other day that we'd called out that potentially we could have done with another body in. But it sounds as though this guy Nathan Wood can play right back too. I think Neil Warnock was quoted as saying he's played centre mid, he's played defensive mid, he's played right back and right mid for Middlesbrough at different points.
That blows me out the water because thank God you said that first because I was going to embarrass myself and say I thought he was a left-sided centre half.
Oh really? Oh no, I think he's right-sided. I could be wrong.
I've just assumed. So you're probably right if you.
Maybe Neil Warnock's fucking playing champagne football and he's playing a left-footed guy at right back because he wants the inverted fullbacks. Neil Warnock, absolute football terrorist, deciding that he's going to play inverted fullbacks with Uche Ikpeazu up front. That's exactly what you need. I saw there's a few Borough fans because I think Sol Bamba's there now, isn't he? He's signed Neil Warnock's taking him to Borough. A few Borough fans who aren't too chuffed because they've got the guy Dale Fry, who I think has been kind of tipped for big things for quite a long time now, is probably one of the better centre halves in the Championship. I think they've got someone else playing in there next to them. Bamba's now kind of their backup rather than Nathan Wood, and I don't think the Borough fans were too impressed with that.
Yeah, they seem to be quite they seem to be not disappointed that he's getting loan moves, but no, when you normally see some people saying, "Oh, like he's not that great." It seems to be the consensus of we should have kept him for the bench, or it's really good for him to go out and play with the added asterisk that your grand could play up here because it's a pish standard of football. I've seen a few of them and all.
Coming out for fucking Middlesbrough fans.
I know. Wait,
do me a favour.
Easy, man. I would say I'm definitely more on the same sort of thought process as yourself, Liam. I think it's a good signing. So it's entirely based off of chat online and stuff like that. But look, we all wanted a centre back. Personally, didn't necessarily think we needed one that would come in and be any better than Hammond and Porteous. I know that's a bit controversial, but I think it was just a good body that we needed. You know what I mean? Like someone that we think is capable, and if he has to play, he has to play. And I don't get the impression he would come up here if he didn't think he was going to get a fair crack at it. And then for me, the biggest thing in the window is we've not sold anyone yet. And I don't know, am I going to sell anyone in the next 4.5 hours? I fucking hope we don't. That, and for me, that is massive. Let's be honest, I think we probably spoke about it either on the last podcast the last season or maybe the first one of this one. We probably all expected Nisbet to be gone. I think we were all probably consigned to Doig probably being away as well, potentially maybe still coming back on loan or something. But if we wake up tomorrow and Porteous, Boyle, Nisbet and Doig are still Hibs players, then honestly, even if we hadn't signed anyone, I'd have probably been pretty happy. I'm not going to lie. And then coupled with the rest of the signings that we've made, I think Dan Mackay is going to be a good signing for the future. I know he still looks a little bit raw, but I think it's a good signing that you probably like to see the club making. Jake Doyle-Hayes has been a revelation. So, and I'm pretty comfortable with Matt Macy and goals. And so it's 4 signings plus Jamie Murphy, really. Well, Murphy and Macy permanently. Well, Macy was a sort of extension, wasn't it? And then Jake Doyle-Hayes, James Scott, and Dan Mackay. And I think I've not seen anything to suggest that any of the players that we've signed so far are duds. You know what I mean? Like, I think Scott looks promising, Mackay looks promising, Jake Doyle-Hayes has been class. So hopefully Nathan Wood comes in and does the same, and any more business we do in the rest of the evening can follow the same trend. I've not really seen any names linked with a forward. Obviously, I've seen a few journalists tweet, like was it Moira Gordon? She tweeted last night, I want to say, that she expected maybe like even 3 or 4 through the door. And I know, is it Mark Benstead, the guy that works for Sky? I think he was done a sort of update midday-ish for Sky Sports, and he said that there was some interesting noises coming out of Hibs and potentially incomings and outgoings. In terms of outgoings, the only thing I've really seen, Jamie Gullen looks like he might be heading to Killie to get the Hibs under-20s for a couple of years ago band fully back together alongside Ollie Shaw, Fraser Murray. Then you've got Stephen McGinn there for a laugh and Jason Naismith, I know. So Tommy Wright just thought Hibs will get us up. What's your thoughts on Jamie Gullen? If he does go loan or permanent, what would be your preference?
Just got him out. It's a shame. He's clearly got some form of ability, but I don't think he's going to live up to it with the amount of game time he's getting. I don't begrudge him. I don't have any ill will towards him, but I think it's his time to leave the club. He wants first team football and he's not going to get it at Hibs.
I really like Jamie Gullen. And the fleeting bits I've seen him, I really like Jamie Gullen. There's something for me about he would need to go out and loan to a Championship club and really knock it out of the park for him to come back to Hibs and get a game. I think he's done well at Raith Rovers in the 2 more recent spells, but he's not knocked it out of the park, if you like. There's something for me about it. I'd be tempted to give him 6 months till January, or well, it's not even 6 months, but we always say 6 months, don't we? I'd be tempted to give him to January on loan if we were able to find the right club. I'm not sure Killie would be the right club for him, though. I'm not sure Tommy Wright Kelly team would be the right team. But there's something for me just about. I just don't really think as much as he's a guy who's not played loads of games for Hibs, I'm just not really convinced that I'm ready for him to leave and not get a proper opportunity. But then he's maybe never going to get the opportunity, so what's the point in letting him go on loan? I don't know. There's also the argument that should we really let him go when we've only got those two forwards at the club, which, you know, it's just a repeat of the argument that we were having in January. So probably don't really want to bring it up again, but there's something for me just about doing balance and doing the right thing by the player versus doing the right thing for the need of the club.
Yeah, I think the right thing for the player would be to probably let him go permanently. Are we better getting a fee for him just now, even if it was nominal for Kelly? No, probably pennies, but are we better to get that in and utilise it to giving Kevin Nisbet a pay rise or something? You know what I mean? There was obviously a chat about him potentially signing a new deal, but then it's, let's see, he's out of contract next summer. So if you give him, say he goes to Kelly till January, what's enough for Hibs to say, oh, he's worth coming back in January? But then if he comes back in January, Doidge is probably going to be fit then. Chris Mueller's going to be coming in and he looks like a sort of wide forward. James Scott's potentially still going to be here unless he's recalled. So it's a tough one. I don't necessarily, I like Jamie Dillon. I don't necessarily want him to go unless we sign someone else to take that spot on the team, but he wasn't even stripped at the weekend. So, like, I find that tells you everything we need to know. How would you both assess the transfer window if it was to close right now? We'll assume that this David Mitchell signing because it seems like it's done. Out of 10, if it was to close right now, Harry, you can go first.
It's difficult because if we didn't have any injuries, I'd probably give it a solid 9 out of 10. But just because of the way the squad looks at the moment, it looks like we've got depth problems. And I think that we are lacking that extra. I'm undecided on Wood because obviously I've not seen him play. But in terms of that depth up top, I do think we probably are a man lacking. And because of that, I'll give us a 7. But it's a good 7. It's not like a 7's crap 7. It's an alright 7.
What about yourself, Liam?
Probably an 8. I think on the basis that we've not added lots of players, but the ones we have are of pretty good quality, I'd probably say an 8. There's no one who we've signed, and admittedly, we've not seen Wood, but there's no one we've signed who hasn't already added something to the team in some respect. And I like the way that it's not a signing, but I like the way that we've used guys who are already within the squad to fill holes that were there. I think Kyle McGuinness being case in point for that. So I think it's an 8, but we are still only at 7:40, and there is still 4 hours and 20 minutes left of this window, so that could fucking change. It's an 8, but it's an 8 with an asterisk. It's an asterisk. We love an asterisk in Scottish football, so I think that has to be inserted there just in case.
So that's what I was going to say. So put in your asterisks. What would make it go up? What would make it go down?
I think it's 9 if we sign a quality forward player for me. Quality forward player. What would make it go down would be letting a couple of 1 or 2 players go in areas where we're a little bit short on cover.
I would agree. So for me, I'm looking at it right now, comfortably a 9. I think we've had a really good window. I'm sorry, I think we're so used to having to have a huge turnover in players. So we're used to seeing so much new faces come through the door every summer. But we finished third last season. We got to our cup final. I know we didn't, and there was holes that needed filled, and there was areas in the squad that needed addressed. And the sort of first team players that we've lost, we're looking at Irvin and Marciano. That's pretty much it. I'm not saying I don't think Messi's as good as Marciano, but he's not left a glaring hole, I don't think. I think you look at the role Kyle McGuinness is playing in the team now. I know he's not a new signing, but he's probably adequately filled the shoes that Jackson Irvin left, if not probably exceeding them already with the goals that he scored. Jake Doyle-Hayes has come in and done well, and I think James Scott's going to be a good signing. I think I do think Dan Mackay long term is going to be a good signing. So I'm going straight in at a 9. Like people, I know like we obviously have got injuries to Christian Doidge and stuff, but you've got. I know it's difficult, but like you said earlier, it's not 6 months till January. It's 3 months. Like there's probably not that many games between now and Chris Mueller joining. If I was to guess, maybe 15 league games max.
Can't wait till January though. Yeah.
No, I mean like, but January the 1st, like I'm just thinking from a worst case scenario, you'd be looking to be left with like Nisbet and Scott both injured. You'd be looking at a serious chain of events to take place for that. Like, and I don't want Hibs to ever go back to where we were before, signing players like Roy O'Donovan to just to fill a gap. Like it doesn't do it for me. Like I would rather have a squad of players that I know are good and that when fit and healthy can win us games, as opposed to some wee dick coming in on loan to fucking Coventry or something. I know we've just signed a centre-half to Middlesbrough, but it's a bit different, I think, signing a young player up and coming as opposed to signing a 28-year-old on loan from somewhere. As no doubt, we'll sign a 28-year-old on loan from somewhere in the next 4 hours, and I'll be on the Twitter again at Big Ian. One thing that did happen today, I'm interested to get both your points on it quickly. I think I spoke about over the summer. Lee Griffiths went to Dundee. Dundee Courier, and then I believe the Scottish Sun reported that Hibs had a loan bid accepted last night by Celtic. What do you make of that chat? I'm not convinced.
See, the thing is, as I said, I want Hibs players to at least want to be at the club. He very easily could have walked away from Celtic and rejected the bid that was on the table for him. He could have joined Hibs for free. And it's not exactly like he's going to light the world up. So he could have joined us for free, got a relatively decent pay wage and netted about 15 goals this season or whatever. And that would have been him signing off with a decently finish at his boyhood club. But instead, he's decided to sign a contract knowing he's not going to break into this Celtic team. And he's going to Dundee to fight relegation.
Yeah, pretty much my thoughts on it. Liam, anything to add on that?
I don't know. This it's a funny one. I mean, I don't think we were serious about our interest in him. I'd be very, very surprised if we were after him. I've seen quite a lot of people saying that they think him and Jason Cummings will make a really good partnership, and I think they'll both score goals. But I don't think that's a partnership. It's certainly not a word I would use to describe the two of them, because I think neither of them's willing to run it in behind. Running behind. Neither of them's a hold-up man. Really, I know they both can do it, but they're not really a hold-up man. Both of them want to come short. They'll definitely score goals, but whether it's scoring goals through partnership or just scoring goals through their own individual brilliance, if you want to call it that, I think they're kind of two different things. But do you know what? Good luck to Lee Griffiths. I hope he goes to Dundee and does his thing and find some of that form back. But if we'd signed him, I'd have been. I don't think I would have been jumping for joy. Whereas maybe if we'd signed them earlier in the window, or if we'd signed them in January, I might have evoked a different reaction, but we didn't.
Yeah,
so.
There's definitely, I think that's a big thing for me. If Lee Griffiths wanted to be a Hibs player right now, it would be, as far as I'm concerned, he wouldn't have signed a new contract at Celtic. And I think Jack Ross was quoted towards the end of last season when the rumours first started circulating, saying that it probably would be a player that we would look at. I've got no interest in taking Lee Griffiths on loan to Celtic for a year. Ultimately, you know what I mean, I would if Lee Griffiths is at his best, you want him playing against Celtic. You know what I mean? You didn't want him playing against the rest of them if he's at his best. So that's that for me. I think Cummins and Griffiths will score enough goals for Dundee to keep them up. Partnership,
I think Dundee would have been fine anyway. Charlie Adam and the team and Cummings, I think they would have been fine. I think Griffiths just has a little bit level of firepower. Maybe they'll finish 8th instead of 10th. I don't know.
I have to say I was impressed with Cummins against us. He was better than what I expected him to be. So maybe his nose will be out of joint at Griffiths coming in, and Cummins will rock up at HTC.
Killian Sheridan and all.
Cummins will rock up at HTC at 10 to 12 tonight. He's back. start printing money again for them scoring against Hearts and Rangers. Right, let's wrap up this week with High B of the week. I was going to say I forgot to tweet the poll last week. So
I was absolutely tapping to win that, by the way. Absolutely guaranteed that was the one.
Right, well, you can crack on with it. You can go first this week, Harry.
He's not going to win it because he never wins it, but I can't even mind the stat. But Martin Boyle was the first player in however donkeys long to score 4 consecutive league games to start the season. He's been unbelievable. He's going to score a hat-trick against Hearts, so he's well getting on now as well as then. So, big boy, High B the week, star man, what a player.
Liam?
Fucking hell, I love that Harry starts his nomination every single week where he's not going to win it because he never wins it, or he's not going to win it because, and then he's like, "Is it please vote for me? Please, will you spare me a vote for High B of the week, please?"
Because I'm Liam, I take the tapping every time because I'm not brave enough to make a noble pick.
Yes, sir. Yes, I'll take your vote. Thank you. No,
You probably won't win, but please vote for me.
I think winner for me this week. He was man of the match on Saturday, and I think he was by head and shoulders the best player on the pitch, Kyle McGuinness. Martin Boyle scored a really good goal. Allen and McGinn got 2 good assists, but Kyle McGuinness was he was in a different position, asked to play a different role. He was just brilliant again, and he was a player that we just all hoped he was going to be. I think now he's just so good. I hope he stays fit because he's been brilliant.
Right, well, if I'm getting slagged off for my nomination, you're getting slagged off for the complete tone of voice, going heavy, soft, and surprise sounding.
Kyle McGuinness. I'm going. He's been really good this season. Oh,
do you like me, Kyle?
I wonder if Kyle's listening. I'll vote for the obvious one. I didn't think there was many standouts. Like we said earlier, I felt we're in first gear. I'll go for Kevin Nisbet. And if he's sold in the next 3.5 hours, then I'll go for Ryan Porteous. No, I'll stick with Kevin Nisbet. I actually thought he was pretty good at the weekend. Something that's really stuck out for me so far this season, I think we all had a rough idea, but Kevin Nisbet's touch is fantastic, and his use of his body and stuff, and shielding the ball, and the way he can manipulate the ball to get into shooting positions, which I think for was it Doidge's goal at Motherwell, like when he managed to shift it and hit the post, and like the movement there, and then his movement at the weekend as well. As much as we're saying it wasn't a great defending, Kevin Nisbet still done really well. So I think my vote goes for Kevin Nisbet. And just worth mentioning as well, I had the pleasure of catching up with the women's manager, Dean Gibson, the other night. I had a really good chat with Dean, looking ahead to the opening league game of the season on Sunday against Spartans at the Tony Mac in Livingston, and looking ahead to the season in general, and just chatting about a lot of pish. So that'll be out probably on Thursday night as well. So if you need your Hibs fix this weekend, I think everyone should, if they can, get along to the Tony Mac. The women's team are in some fine form. They had 24 goals scored in 3 League Cup games over the group stages of that. So hopefully they continue that with getting 3 points on the board against Spartans. So yeah, keep your eyes out for that, or ears out for that on Thursday night. But thank you once again for joining me, boys. Thanks for listening, lads. We'll be back next week.
One thing I want to say just before we turn off. I think that the Hearts
I'm going to have to do that full outro again.
No, mate. I just wanted to say, I wanted this to be an abrupt thing because I wanted to throw it in there before we ended. The Hearts fans are pure gimps for stealing our songs, man. What's that all about? Absolute dire chat. Bunch of Hearts bastards. Right, now you can finish off. There you go.
Catch you later.
Bye.
See ya.